Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2 and the Benchmade Super Freek. Now, I haven't seen much in the way of videos online, or really any videos online as far as I can tell, comparing these two. And I actually think these are really good comparisons, and so I'd like to do that now, do a video comparing the two, do a little battle here, and give it a little ratings. So I've only done a couple of battles on this channel, and I think I'm going to try to do a couple more of them, but I have a little bit of different style of doing them. What I do is I give each category a rating from 1 to 10, and then I add up all the categories at the end. The reason this is important is because a lot of times people will do, you know, whoever wins this category or that category, and that can be misleading because sometimes some categories are close calls and some categories are clear wins. And so, you know, the winner of that quote-unquote battle might be the inferior knife. So I think this is a better way of doing it, and I'm going to go ahead and do that this way. So the categories I'm going to go talk about today are the blade, which includes blade design, ergonomics, fidget factor, carry, aesthetics, quality, and value. So let's go ahead and go through those. First, let's talk about the blade. So both of these blades are M4. So right off the bat, you've got similar steels here. M4 is an excellent steel. It's what cutting competitions use as a competition steel. Keeps an edge forever. Is not really that rust resistant, so you will get rust or corrosion if you're not careful with the blade, which is the reason that Benchmade coats their blade in DLC. Spyderco, of course, has this satin blade here in the M4. As far as the blade design, let's go ahead and take a closer look at them. So first of all, they're the same stock, which is very important to note because a lot of people are familiar with the Super Freek and how well it cuts with that thin stock with M4. And this is going to be same stock with also with M4. The main difference being is you got this sort of 2/3 hollow grind here, whereas this is a flat grind, or I should say maybe a 3/4 flat grind, because you've got a flat up here and then it's a flat grind down to the bottom, whereas here it's a hollow grind. So you guys may be familiar with hollow grinds. Hollow grinds are mean that the way the knife is designed comes down like to a point like that instead of a straight V, and the big difference is that it's going to give you a thinner edge. And so I haven't measured these edges, but I will tell you that, you know, and really how thin an edge is, I don't think gives a true picture. I can just tell you, when you're cutting through cardboard, you can really feel the difference. And I will tell you that the Gayle Bradley cuts through cardboard, I shouldn't say much smoother, but a little bit smoother than the Super Freek here does. So you can definitely feel the fact that this has a thinner edge as it goes through the cardboard. The blade shape is excellent. It gives you the right amount of flat over here before it gives you a little bit of belly. It has what appears to be a recurve here. I'm not sure if that is intentional or play of the light, but for the most part, it really is it operates as a flat edge, but it looks like a little bit of a recurve. It does go through cardboard pretty much like butter. So yeah, I'm very impressed with that. As far as this one, it goes also pretty much like butter, but the DLC coating does cause it to hang a little bit, and you definitely feel the fact that DLC coating is there. Some people will not like the fact that DLC coating is on the blade. Some people prefer satin. I actually like DLC coating, and I don't mind a little added resistance because I appreciate the fact that the DLC coating is there. I live in Houston, which is very humid, so I love M4, and in Houston it's better to have coated steel, in my opinion. Although, you know, in many other areas of the country, if you're in dry climates or really climates with 4 seasons, you probably shouldn't have too much of a trouble with the satin. But again, in Houston, we're just so humid that it makes sense to do this. That being said, really haven't had much trouble in the way of rust on this. You can see some discoloration or patina at the top of that blade right there. It's kind of on both sides. I'm not sure if that's from a fingerprint or from something else, but it does go to show you that you really need to take care of the M4 in the climate that I'm in. So as far as the blade, both of these blades are excellent. I mean, really superior blade shapes and really superior craftsmanship on the blades. Both of these are Sport and factory edges. I'm going to go ahead and give the because I'm so impressed by the blades, I'm going to go ahead and give the Spyderco a 9 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10 for the Super Freek on the blade. As far as the ergonomics go, this is a clear win to the Super Freek. The Super Freek is pretty ergonomic. You sort of have a neutral handle here, but the front part of the handle and the end of the thumb really lock in here, and it gives you a great grip. It feels very, very comfortable all the way around. The scales are contoured. It's contoured G10, so it really fills your hand pretty well. To that end, I'll also show you that, well, let's do this here. You'll see that the Super Freek is a thicker handle, and so it does fit your hand a little bit better. It's contoured and it fits your hand better, and you have that nice thumb locking in with the forefinger there. It really feels great, and it's nice and hand filling. It's a little bit wider in some dimensions than the Gayle Bradley is. As you can see here, it's a little bit wider in some of these dimensions, especially closer to the back of the hand. And I think that's important in making it feel hand filling. As far as the Gayle Bradley is concerned, as much as I love the blade up front, the handle just isn't that ergonomic, and I don't love the fact that it's like that. Also, you know, this is the stock clip on the Super Freek, and I have tried the deep carry on this as well. Both are fine on the Super Freek. This is a Lynch clip. Now, I do have to send this back into Casey Lynch. As you can see, the screws were not the right size for these holes, and they ended up getting stripped. This is a sort of a side issue, but Casey's taking care of that. I definitely appreciate Casey for that. I'll update you guys on what happens with that when I get this thing back. He's having me send the whole knife to him. So, in any event, the clip that comes on here is a black Spyderco spoon clip, and it really is a hot spot on this knife. The deep carry clip on here, the Casey Lynch clip, Lynch Northwest clip, actually removes the hot spot almost entirely, so that's not as much of an issue. But the stock clip on here does create that hot spot, and it's kind of unfortunate that that's the case. Also, your thumb does not feel locked in on here, kind of like some other Spydercos. You know, here's the Para 3. So you can see how your thumb really locks into the Para 3 and your forefinger locks into that choil. You do not get that feeling here on this knife, and it's kind of a shame, because I know Spyderco develops a lot of their knives to fit the hand first and then pays attention to the aesthetic second. But on this one, I think that they sort of failed to pay attention to the ergonomics as a first. You get that neutral grip on the handle, but it's a little bit too thin on the handle there. It is thinner in this dimension as well. You got flat scales. It's just not as good. Now, as far as the texturing goes, I will note that both of these are textured. You can see the texturing. This is a carbon fiber G10 laminate over stainless steel liners. Now, you can feel the texturing here. It feels sort of like each of these checkers that you see on the screen is a ridge, and so you can feel all of those ridges as you go across the knife, across the scale, and you definitely feel the texturing and it gives good grip, but it's a little odd, the texture. This one is the texturing, so the design that you see on the scale is the texturing. The differences in the coloration and all those lines that you see, that is the texture. It definitely adds not only an aesthetic to it, but it adds a lot of texture, and I think it works well with this knife. I know that texturing is not going to be for everyone, though, but it's just something to show you guys. So again, the ergonomics on this, it was a clear win for the Super Freek, and this is going to get 8 points out of 10, and the Spyderco Gayle Bradley is going to get 5 points out of 10 for ergonomics. Fidget factor. So fidget factor is another clear win for the Super Freek. The axis lock is such a huge upgrade over the liner lock that's on here, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the axis lock on here works just as well as any other axis lock you might be familiar with, whether you have the 940, the Griptilian, or anything like that. It works excellent, excellent, excellent. It's so smooth, in the way it drops down. The action is just amazing. You can, even with the thumb studs here, you can Spidey flick it if you want to. You can use the axis lock itself to swing the knife out and swing the knife in. You can gravity flick it. If I didn't have the camera here, it'd be easier to do. Yeah, with the camera here, it's a little harder to do. But But you can definitely gravity flick it. You can roll it out with the thumb studs or flick it out with the thumb studs. It just works very, very well all the time. There you go, gravity flick on camera. So yeah, this is great as far as fidget factor. With respect to the fidget factor on this, so you do have the regular spider hole, spidey hole stuff where you roll it out. You have the spidey flip like that, and that's pretty much it. You don't really have much beyond that. The biggest issue with the fidget factor on this is going to be this liner lock. As you can see, it has this texturing right here on the liner lock. It is also, there's no cutout on the right by the liner lock to get access to it. So you have to dig your thumb in there, the meat of your thumb in there, and push over on that texturing in order to get the knife to close. So when you talk about opening and closing for action, it's not fun to open and close it. It's fun to open it for sure. You know, the spidey flick and the thumb roll out and stuff. It's fun to open it, but the closing part of it, in order to keep the action going and keep the fidgeting going, is just not. It's not fun. It's not pleasurable to close. In fact, it's a little bit annoying because it can start to wear on your thumb after a while with that area. Now, as far as there's one other aspect to that as well that we should just talk about, I guess, and that is the fact that the action on this is a little tight. So, you know, I could loosen the pivot on this, and I tried playing with that a little bit, but it doesn't really help that much. So it is on phosphor bronze washers. It does break in after a while. You can get it to sort of fall if you hold the liner lock down, you know, away from it. If you hold the liner lock over, it will fall freely, but because you get that constant pressure from the liner lock, you don't get any drop shot action. Whereas here, you know, you can literally just pull it back and boom, you get that drop shot action. So it's a lot more satisfying in that regard. One other thing that I should mention is the size of the hole. So the size of the hole here, if you look at the Spyderco Para 3, you can really see it. It's a lot smaller than the Spyderco Para 3. And the reason that's important is because when you roll out the Para 3, you don't really feel any issue. Your finger goes right into the hole, knocks it out. Your finger goes right into the hole, pulls it out, and there's not really an issue. On this one, when you roll it, you actually feel like your thumb is being sucked in, almost. And so you sort of get that ring around your thumb where that was, and it sort of feels like the meat of your thumb is being sucked into the knife. It's a little bit odd and sort of feels like you may, you know, with the sharp edges here, may cut yourself at some point. You won't really, but you get that weird feeling in the back of your head that may happen. It also doesn't create, you know, an easy opening for spidey flicking. It is easy to spidey flick it, but it's just, you know, you have to dig your finger in there instead of it fitting right in. So fidget factor, again, Super Freek gets an 8 out of 10, and fidget factor Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2 gets a 5 out of 10. On the carry, so a couple things with the carry. One is the thickness of the knife. Obviously, this one's a little bit thinner, so that's nicer in the pocket. Also, with respect to the clips. Now, like I said, the stock clips are both going to be clips that hang down. Both of these can be changed with deep carry clips. The Lynch clip is going to run about 20 bucks, maybe 25 bucks, depending on where you buy it. And the Benchmade will send you a new clip, a lot of times for free. They'll send you a deep carry clip, or they'll charge you $5 for it. In that respect, I really like the fact that Benchmade does that. That being said, the lanyard hole placement here means that you're never really going to have a true deep carry, whereas this is going to give you mostly a true deep carry. And so, you know, assuming that both of these have deep carry clips on it, the carry on this one is going to be better. Also, you know, as far as the overall profile, you see they're about the same height where the spidey hole is, and this is a lot thinner down towards this end. The Spyderco is a lot thinner than the Benchmade toward that end. So this is going to be better in the pocket. It also has a smoother base here. That being said, both of these slide in and out of the pocket really easily, no issues. One thing of note is that the Super Freek is lighter, or at least feels lighter. I don't, you know, use official weights or anything, but it definitely feels noticeably lighter than the Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2. So if if weight is your biggest criteria over the other things that I mentioned, you can definitely get, decide that you would like the Super Freek better. But for the purposes of carry in this review, I'm going to give the Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2 an 8 out of 10, and the Benchmade Super Freek a 7 out of 10. Aesthetics. This is really it's all personal preference. But for me, I never really liked the design on the Taiwan-made Spydercos with the carbon fiber and G10. Just kind of looks a lot to me. I have the same sort of design, I think, with the Spyderco Chapparal, and it just is a weird looking design. And it's not what I like to see with carbon fiber. So it's not doing it for me. The blade, I think, looks excellent, and the overall aesthetic of the knife, I like this half of the aesthetic. I don't like this half of the aesthetic, and that's just the way it is. The Benchmade Super Freek, I like the whole thing. I love coated blades as far as the aesthetics go. The red and black here looks great. I love the fact that they blended in, some gray with that. I think overall the aesthetic of this is pretty nice. I will say that, I don't like this line back here. And it probably, if they did away with the lanyard hold, it would be less of an issue. But overall, I really like the aesthetic of this one. I give this one an 8 out of 10 and this one a 6 out of 10. Quality. So quality, I would say that they're both pretty good quality. You have Benchmade and Spyderco. They both have good standards. Benchmade's fit and finish has been excellent. You see the centering on this is spot on. Benchmade's fit and finish overall on their knives over the last couple of years, I haven't had any problems, so I'm going to say that the quality is about the same. As far as the materials here, some things to note. Both of them are obviously M4. You have DLC coating on here. You have stainless steel liners here, G10 with carbon fiber on top, and here you have G10 with G10 liners, and then you have cartridge liners on the inside that are right here. Is that a problem for this knife? No, it's not a problem for this knife because you're not going to be using this knife for lateral motion because of how thin the blade, how thin the stock is, and you're not going to be using this knife for lateral motion because it's a hollow point, or hollow grind. Sorry guys, it's a hollow grind, and it's also the same stock. I don't think you're going to be using lateral, force on this one either, and so I really don't think the cartridge liners is an issue, or that the G10 liners is an issue on this one. So I kind of think and the fact is that the G10 liners on this one make this one a little lighter, so I'm going to call this one actually a wash. Both of them are going to get a 7 out of 10 on this. All right. Well, one other thing to note on this is the stainless steel liners, I think, are a bit played out at this price range, which we'll get to in a second. There are a lot of people are doing nested liners and things like that in this price range, and these are not nested, and so they could reduce a lot of weight by reducing the liner down and nesting it rather than having it, shadow box like this, to quote Metal Complex. All right, value. Last thing. So value, it was a close one. This is about $191.50 or something like that, and this is $171 and change. So they're both up there. What you're getting, as far as materials wise, the all G10 with the cartridge liner construction with the M4 versus the carbon fiber / G10 with the stainless steel liners with the M4. It's a similar level of quality. It really is, as far as the value goes. And honestly, the construction is pretty much the same standard of quality as well. So as far as value goes, I mean, the Spyderco is going to be a little bit better value because it's $20 cheaper. But ultimately, when you're in this price range, if you're letting $20 dictate your spending habits, I mean, you're up at $170, $190 bucks. Like, buy the knife that's right for you. So when it comes to value, I'm going to go ahead and give the Spyderco a 9 out of 10 in value, because you're really getting some good stuff for what you're paying. You're getting a great knife, great materials. Is it what I would like to see in the materials? No, but if you put the materials I'd want to see in this, you'd probably be up at around 250 or something like that, or 230, 250. So I'm okay at 170 with this stuff. I think it's a good value. Same thing with this. This is going to be an 8 out of 10. The Benchmade's an 8 out of 10. The Spyderco's a 9 out of 10 on value. And for the same reason, you know, I think the materials on this are exactly what they need to be for what this knife is. You know, could they do a full carbon fiber version? Sure, but Benchmade in its carbon fiber is going to be, again, up at, you know, 230, 250 for something similar. So to keep this manageable at an under $200 price point, I'm okay with that. Both of these are great knives. Let's go ahead and total up the scores. So you got 49 out of 70 for the Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2, and you got a 54 out of 70 for the Super Freek. So the Super Freek does win this challenge. It was somewhat close, but you know, the Super Freak seemed to pull away, obviously in the biggest categories of ergonomics and fidget factor. So if those aren't big deals to you, then you may enjoy the Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2 more. But frankly, they were so close in every other area that, you know, you just have to pick the knife that you think looks the best and would work the best for you with what you're using your knife for. The biggest determining factors for what you're buying should be: do you need a hollow grind? Do you need a flat grind? You know, is something that is ergonomic going to be important? Are you going to be cutting something all day, or just every once in a while? Those are the main things to look at. And thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and drop a comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you can get all my content. I do a lot of giveaways. If you are watching this video at the time that it's going up, and I do have a 1,500 subscriber giveaway going on right now. It's going to be going on for another day or two, I think about another 2 days. So please go ahead and hit that up if you have not already. But obviously make sure you're checking the date below to see if that giveaway is still in effect. Thanks so much for watching, guys.